Overrated.
Welcome to another episode of Just Two Dads, along with my co-host, Shawn Francis. I am Brian Altunian, and along with us today, our co-creator, our partner, our friend, Susanna Peace Lovell. We're going to have an amazing show today. We're so excited that you're all with us. Hang in there. This is going to be a conversation that is going to go so fast because we are not short for words, any of us. So here today on Just Two Dads.
Brian.
What's that?
When that intro plays, how do you not go?
Oh no, I want to dance every time. I know. Okay. I wish it were longer. Sometimes I wish it were longer, and then again, I'm like, oh, it's too long. Welcome everybody, another episode of Just Two Dads. This is going to be an amazing conversation, just because we have a lot of fun. We all love each other, and this is going to be purposeful and valuable. So stay with us. First of all, I want to welcome everybody who's watching us on Facebook Live. Please feel free to put something in the comments, ask us a question, make a comment. If we can, we'll throw it up on the screen if we can. If you're not catching us live, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We are Just Two Dads. We're also available on all podcasts, Apple, Google, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and on WSTX AM radio down in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I say down in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I guess it's south. I'm glad to have you. Please subscribe to our channel. Share this information. Shawn and I started out about 5 years ago in the world of our business in financial services and talking about special needs families and providing services to those families that need a lot of support and resources, but most importantly, as it related to our business, financial resources as well. And we kept coming across such amazing individuals who were doing selfless services for the special needs community that we thought, man, we're just meeting some amazing, what we call warriors. And we should do something to highlight those folks. And then about a year and a half ago, we were invited to be participants in a podcast about dads being involved. And we thought, oh, that's a great idea. And then that podcast interview, we had a great time, by the way. We had a blast, and it never aired. And we don't know really what happened to those guys. And we thought, what are we waiting for them to release? Let's do our own podcast. And so we are now we're episode 56 or 57. We've been doing this weekly, every week, live on Facebook, and then again on our subsequent podcast outlets for over a year. And
56.
56. We're episode 56. And so it's incredible because what we have found is that as we weave this, I always do this. You can see me visually. I always weave this web of a resource network of folks who provide resources to the special needs community. Such amazing people, and our guest today, and it's so funny because not that we like to put dates on these things, but the very first time we had Susanna on our show, it was the day after a national election, and we're all based in California, and so today it's the day after a statewide election. And so I guess we can talk about that a little bit, but the purpose of today's conversation is really more importantly to talk about the 2-day summit that we have coming up. Our first summit, our Someday is Today's summit, coming up later this week on September 17th and 18th. And really we've gathered together a number of speakers who have been guests on our show, and now we're going to let them actually share with our audience their services and what they do. And so today, a little bit of a discussion about that to give you a preview of what that's going to look like, why we're so excited to do that. That was probably the longest introduction I think I've ever done. So as we jump in,
not probably.
Okay, Shawn, here's the challenge. We all love to talk, all of us. Susanna's like, I don't talk, you guys talk, and the reality is that's probably true. But all right, so we're going to get into this with Susanna. Before that, I'll just say hello to Shawn, my partner in Thrive, my colleague, my business colleague, my family, my friend, Mr. Shawn Francis. How are you today, buddy?
Blessed and grateful, and the recipient of a setup for the shortest intro of mine ever, because I don't want to take anything else away from Susanna. Susanna is one of several speakers that will be taking place, that will be participating at the event this week. We've been working really hard to put this thing together.
But more importantly, she's a coach. She's our co-host. She's our co-creator of this summit as well. Not just.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not just a user. I'm also the president of the club. Susanna's not just a speaker; she's also a co-creator of the entire event. Sorry,
Yes.
Shawn. I can't help myself. I've had a lot of coffee today, so I just totally interrupted your short.
You're probably scared of the cup too,
right?
But no, and I know you weren't speaking. I wasn't speaking French when I said we. When I said we, I meant the three of us. We have been working nonstop on this, and so we're going to be talking about each of the speakers and the areas that they will be covering as far as the topics and the services that they provide. And since Susanna is here, we're graced with her presence. We figure that's as good a place to start. Welcome again.
Welcome, Susanna.
Yes. Well, this is one of my favorite places to be on a Wednesday afternoon. But you know what's so interesting is I never really knew the background and the history of how you guys started. And I've known you for almost a year now because our first episode was in early November. But I didn't know how you all got started. So that's really fascinating. And I was sort of thinking about what we were going to talk about today and this virtual summit that we have coming up that I am just exhilarated about. I can't believe that we put this all together in not that long of a time.
Pretty quick, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be fair. But I think that just goes to the power of Brian. You have to look up for this.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Power of the weaving and the networking and the right and everything else that has come together along the way. All of our connections and just our shared purpose in life in terms of wanting to support and help, really to be of service for other special needs families, because that is our lived experience too. So I'm just, anyway, so grateful to be in partnership with you guys always.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And this is work that you do as well and have been doing for quite some time as well. So, right, we should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think for those of you who don't know me, I call myself the one mom. So just two dads and one mom. So I call myself the one mom, especially in this platform. But I am a life coach and I'm an advocate dedicated to the health and wellness of special needs families everywhere. And this is also my everyday lived experience as I am raising a now 15-year-old daughter who has myriad special needs and challenges, to name a few of the diagnoses, in case that matters. Autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, myriad food allergies, anxiety, a lot of fun side dishes that go along with all of that, fun behaviors. But, really just a spectacular child overall and very curious about the world. Obviously, my biggest teacher in this life. And someone that I am so grateful to be in this life with, and just honestly walking the walk with her and learning so much about her and learning so much about myself in the process. But I'm so really, really excited about this summit because I feel like we have so much to offer special needs families, even providers, other caregivers, of course, allies. But, for example, my parents are going to join in because they want to listen, they want to learn more, right? And so I feel like this is a really special 2 days that is coming up Friday and Saturday, starting 10 a.m. Pacific time through 2 p.m. Pacific time. And the first day is going to be a lot of provide so much information. Really, when I was thinking about what I was going to be talking about and what I was going to be sharing with other families is what I feel like I needed the most when I first realized that I had a special needs child.
Right.
And that I had a special needs child. And
well, it's
so
interesting.
This is going to be it's just so much resource, so many resources.
Yeah, well, and since the time, my daughter's 25, and so since the time that we first had the diagnosis to today, there's so much more access, so much more information. But what I always talk about, which I think is important because it really fits with what you do as well, is what we've noticed is that when we have conversations with folks on this podcast about the services that they provide special needs families, it really transcends. While there are some things that are very specific to special needs families, like IEPs, which are individualized educational programs, right? So IEPs that help the child get all the services. There's also other things like nutrition, the coaching that you do, the support that, that other folks can find. It really does transcend the special needs, specific needs of families. And so we found that with financial services too. All the financial services that we offer families, it can help everybody, no matter where they are economically, where they are on the socioeconomic spectrum. But really, in the case of special needs families, that's an area that they may not be focused on because they're focused on so many other things. So I love this. And you started to say this, which basically is these folks that are going to provide services, while they provide services to support special needs families, you don't have to be specific. Like, you don't have to have a child with special needs to get value out of what this summit is going to provide. You could just be related as your parents are, right? Your parents are related and want to understand what kinds of things are available to families. And sometimes they don't even really know, unless you live it day to day. You may not even know that these are issues that come up for folks.
Yeah. And then the other two things to think of is, like we always say, there is no such thing as special needs. Everyone needs the same thing. Everyone needs to know that they're seen. Everyone needs to know that they're loved. Everyone needs to know that they're heard and that they matter. What happens is, if you have a special need, whether it's a result of a catastrophic injury or a diagnosis and some type of developmental delay, you need more of it and you need accommodations. That's the first point. The second point, and this is something that is so obvious, you would think that one would not need to start a podcast in order to realize this. But the other thing is that we are all destined to become members of the special needs community, if you're lucky, because that happens just through the aging process. So the only way to avoid becoming a member of the special needs community is to die, essentially. So there's no way around it. And again, it's just another example of, the many things that we have in common that are so much more than the things that divide us.
And also too, Shawn, I was on this podcast last week. I was a guest for the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast with David Hirsch. And we were talking about how even, us sort of like healthy, middle-aged individuals, really, actually any of us really can be like 1 minute away from disability. So I just feel like this is just, at some point in our lives, if not personally affected, we will have contact with.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So Susanna, jump right in and tell us a little bit about what you do and how what you do, can benefit and serve anybody, but especially those of us who are caregivers and or parents to one with special needs.
Yeah, so I really, once I became a mother, I really had this idea, and this is prior to me realizing my daughter, his name is Arizona, realizing that she had any specific special needs. And I just remember thinking, like, you know what, I want to live a thriving life. Like, I want to have this amazing relationship with my children. I wanted to have 5 kids, remember? And that was a short-lived dream, but I wanted to have 5 kids. And I had this idea that I was going to be showing them how to live their best life, and I just had that intention from early on. I was like, we're going to have a joyful, amazing life full of adventures and experiences, and you're going to be able to tell me anything without being in trouble. And, I just had this whole vision. And then I had Arizona, and I just felt, okay, let me halt for a second. I am going to now just focus on being a warrior to help her figure out how to now navigate this life given her specific needs. And I was just go for years, many years, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Like I said, she's now 15. But during that time, I really completely, I just didn't pay attention to myself. I neglected myself. I neglected my needs. I didn't think about my own passions and my own purpose and my own ways to find joy in this life, because I felt like, well, there's no way that I can do both. I have to focus on one or the other, because it would be so selfish for me to not do everything I can to take care of this child who has extra needs, right?
Mhm.
And then I find myself run into the ground, right? Completely depressed, like debilitatingly so, right? In this deep dark abyss of just funk, just the worst funk ever. If you've never experienced it, I think Shawn, we've talked about this before. You have not experienced this personally. Brian, I have. It's one of those things where you're just like, I am going to try to move one foot forward in front of the other today. But I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. And so ultimately, after I'm in this debilitating depression and anxiety, which I got, help for, including medication, to just sort of be whole and be functional, I thought to myself, I got to a place where I was like, okay, this cannot be how my life is going to be for the rest of my life, because I want to choose something differently, even though, in spite of, and because of my child who has, it's a different kind of motherhood than I had envisioned for myself. What am I working with right now? And obviously things change all the time. Now I have a teenager. I'm worrying about different things now than I did when she was 3. But really my business all started with, how can I figure out a way to create a toolbox of resources for myself as a special needs parent, including like logistical stuff, practical help, spiritual help, emotional, psychological, self-care, the whole gamut of what I needed to make sure that I could stay in Thrive as much as possible, or at least know that I had access to it, because we're going to have our ups and downs. We know that. And be able to model this from my child so that she can also benefit from my intention and my energy in raising her.
Right.
And so early on, when I first realized Arizona had special needs, which was pretty much like as soon as she was born, we just didn't have labels and diagnoses quite yet. But, immediately she just commanded so much attention as soon as she was born. And I was very isolated. I didn't know any other special needs families really at all. And I was the first of my girlfriends really to have a kid. So there wasn't a lot of support and resources around me. And so I had to figure everything out. And especially as a special needs mom, understanding, a whole nother level of therapeutic support and professionals, developmental pediatricians, et cetera, figuring out the West Side Regional Center.
Yeah.
So I, with gusto, moved forward to really figure out what my child needed. But really I was, figuring out what I needed to do for my child as her advocate. And then people started understanding my journey and saying, oh, Susanna, hey, I have a cousin, I have a sister, I have a friend whose child is, a little different and they're a little bit lost. Would you mind talking to them about, and I, jumped on the chance because I knew that it is a very isolating, depressing experience.
Feel like you're completely alone, right? Just feel like you're alone.
Of course. And it's back then, Brian, you have a 25-year-old. So way back then, I mean, honestly, like,
well, it's back then in terms of time, chronological, and then there's back then in terms of services, and the latter speeds up the former. So it is way back then. Yeah.
And Shawn, you and I think, is Elijah, did he turn 15 yet?
Yeah, he's turned 15 this year. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because I remember his birthday. So we have 15-year-olds. Brian has a 25-year-old. When Arizona was diagnosed with some of her challenge issues, she was 2.5, and that was 12.5 years ago. I didn't know of any sort of support group. I didn't know of anything that was like sort of a positive reinforcer to help special needs families. We just had, therapists and pediatricians, and some of whom just sort of like poo-pooed the idea that something different about Arizona. No, she's fine. No. She just, it's going to take her longer to catch up. And that was not the case. So I'm so grateful that we now can, sort of, I think I talked to you guys about my dream of, a special needs family receiving a diagnosis for the first time. And they open the door and there's the three of us standing outside like, everything's going to be okay,
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. We got you.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed, right?
That's a great, I don't want to lose that vision, because that should be the vision and the goal for what we do. So take us through, because I'm sure each situation is a little different. So, different because people are different, diagnoses are different, and the stage at which the diagnosis takes place is different. But give us an example of kind of what you might walk somebody through when a family or a caregiver typically comes to you.
Yes. Okay. So this is a good conversation because I want to make a little bit of a distinction between me and sort of a traditional consultant / therapist / specific. I'm going to help you with your IEP. Like, for example, we have Sandy Santiero, right? Friday. I can't wait to hear her talking about the IEP process and being a coach for that. I wish I had one, by the way.
We do too. Yeah, I do too.
No. So,
nope.
So kudos to Sandy. And so I'm really excited about that session. So I really help the parents create a thriving sort of life in terms of traditional life coaching. So traditional life coaching is, you take all the different areas of your life that you find to be important for you: career, finance, family, values, connections, relationships, money, whatever you feel is important to you. And then we go through where you might feel imbalanced, right? Because the idea is to have a balanced wheel so you can keep moving forward.
Right.
So the parents come to me because they're like, I've sort of lost sight of myself. I do need some help with trying to figure out some specific, services for my child, which, by the way, I have so many people to refer, anyone to, especially in the Los Angeles area. But it's really about how can I be whole as a special needs parent so that I can then hold the space to be this caregiver, right? It's so hard to work from an empty tank, to support and to give from an empty tank. So I help in learning how to be the best I can be as myself, given my, circumstance, constraint, whatever else, limitations, anything, so that I can then help give out to everyone else around me, and especially as a caregiver. A lot of work.
And again, I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier. I think every parent needs that, right? It doesn't matter if you have a special needs child or not. We all want to know that do we have what it takes to be present in our children's lives, and what do we need to make sure that we can, work our job, be a parent, serve everybody, take care of everybody. I mean, I think again, it transcends, special needs. It's especially important for special needs families because sometimes the extra focus and attention that our children need seems to be particularly draining. So it's amazing the work that you do. And we'll put your website.
Well, essentially, you're talking about helping people, equipping people with the presence of mind to put their oxygen mask on first in the proverbial airplane of life before they try to put their kids on and pass out in the process.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And by the way, let me just also say that I haven't figured it all out yet. I talk this talk and I am walking this walk, but it is challenging. There are some days, there are some things that just throw you for a loop. Hello, pandemic of 18 months on remote learning for a child who has an aide with her all day at school that now no longer has any access to any of her services.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I'm one of many, I'm one of millions. So there are days where it's just it's so hard to tap into that toolbox of resources that I've created for myself that I share, with everybody else.
And let's talk about that, because there's a couple of things. First of all, you put together a program for people, right? So people can access your program. And again, not to shortcut the presentation you're going to have on Friday, but just, let people know, you've got specific toolbox of information that people can access to support them. Yes.
And I just wanted to say one thing in alignment with that. I think it's a perfect bridge. The one thing that I've developed an appreciation for in my own personal development through my communication and working with Brian and in this endeavor is that I have a deeper appreciation for a message that is coming from a messenger who has not yet arrived. Right. Mm-hmm. So if the expert is like, here's what I have accomplished, I'm going to teach you how to accomplish that as well. That's okay, provided that you're still seeking. When you get messages from the messenger who knows all, sees all, and sits on the hill, they're dead. They're not learning anymore. So to share with someone what you've learned so far and continue to learn is what it's all about. And I try to make sure it's given me confidence. And even my little posts on social media where I'm like, hey, let me tell you something. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you what I figured out, what I continue to learn as I go along, and hopefully it'll help you. So it's more than okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wonder, I mean, do we ever arrive?
Oh, you better not. That's what I'm saying. The person that arrives is dead.
Yeah. Right. Or right.
When you stop learning,
For sure. It used to make me laugh when I have a GPS, on in the car. And then, when you get there, the announcer says, turn left, turn right. And then it says, you have arrived. And at some point there's sort of a little thing where you're like, I have arrived. That feels good. Yeah. But the reality is in the game of life, right? We really have never arrived at our destination, or as Shawn says, then we've stopped living.
Yeah. You want to be making it, not I made it. Like,
right. We might have goals along the way, right? There's goals that we check off on our IEP, for example.
Yeah.
IEP, for example. But
yeah,
this is a journey.
Yeah.
I got us off track though, because Brian was talking about your program just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I created an online course and it's completely self-paced. Take it, I know my audience, which is, we don't have our attentions. It's not even about our attention span. Rather, it's about our ability to multitask and have moments throughout the day where we might be able to do something for ourselves. And I think there is some limit there. And so I just built this online course. It's called Life Management for Special Needs Families, an ultimate guide for creating a thriving life as a special needs parent. And I have different modules in there, and I break it down into tiny little digestible chunks in terms of how to find, help your child along the way, how to observe your child when you're starting to worry about what's going on or what's happening, or maybe there's a new stage of development. The class, I put it together so that it could work for people who just received a diagnosis for their child, as well as those who received a diagnosis 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but they're just looking to maybe have some additional support along the way. And again, I'm talking about practical help, like logistical things, how to find the right, my top tips for looking for the best learning environment for your child, how to make the most out of your therapy, how to find the best therapists, how to build your dream team.
Wow.
And then, that things like that will continue to change as your child grows up and starts aging out of different, services and programs, right? So I also talk a lot about, the spiritual aspect of these beautiful children who have chosen us to be their parents in this lifetime. And so I have little spiritual corners in terms of, how to honor your child for exactly who they are, and understanding that your child is, whole and perfect and complete exactly as they are.
Yeah.
I have a big area around like co-parenting. My top tips for co-parenting, whether you're in relationship or have an ex relationship, or if you are parenting with maybe a mother or an auntie, right? Or you have community or tribe, top tips for that. Just again, my own experience and what I have found working with so many other special needs families along the way of sort of universally what can be helpful. And again, we all have different situations. You have one child with special needs, you have that one child with special needs, right? With their own, might be some similarities and sometimes there are big differences, but I try to keep it not super duper duper specific, but enough so that you can hold on to something as a life raft to get you through a particular moment.
I need to write that technical term down. I'm sorry. Could you say it again? The super duper duper.
There's another duper.
There are two dupers in there, I think, right?
Yes,
Super
yes.
Duper.
No,
Okay,
three.
good.
I'm
So we're
sorry,
talking-
three.
So Susanna, we're talking. It's a very technical program that you like. Very like super duper. The lots of technicals. Obviously,
Guys.
it's attainable and accessible to everybody. I think that's kind of the
Yes, it is, and I am very accessible too. So once you sign up for the course, you can reach me, and I have little study guides. I have homework questions for if you want to go a little bit deeper. Obviously, it's a very stress-free situation. All of the little digital video chunks are labeled with what it is, and it'll be like 5 minutes, 32 seconds. And so you can tell exactly how long something is going to be, like, oh, how to create a visual schedule for my child. That's 8 minutes. I do have that time to sort of watch. So you just don't feel overwhelmed, because we're so overwhelmed with everything anyway. And I have my favorite class is module number 4, which is my 7 top tips for self-care as a special needs.
Wow.
Yep. And
Beautiful.
so
I'm writing that down. I'm intrigued. You just got my attention. Hold on. 7 top
tips.
Top
Top
tips.
tips, Shawn.
top tips
7 top tips.
for self-care. Now, just for the men that are listening there,
Yeah.
I think I'm good with my self-care. There's always room to improve, but I'm writing that down because I'm trying to figure out how could I improve my wife's self-care.
Look at you.
Listen.
I'm serious. Just
Here's what's interesting, right? Okay, so I'm not talking necessarily about traditional self-care, like health, nutrition.
like spa, and I get that. You're not talking about that.
So just taking care of our like emotional self-care, right? And just listening to our, soul's cry for what it is that is going to fill us up and bring us joy. Yeah, I think you know that.
Yeah, okay. I do, but it helps to remind, though, because I can easily slip into the form of giving that through the love language, which is closer to absence, which is like, here's a gift certificate to the spa. Don't say I didn't do anything for you. You don't want to be that dude.
Okay, so first of all, anybody who knows you, Shawn, knows that you're not that dude anyways, right?
No, but you could slip into that dude, though. I don't ever want to be. I could be.
Wait, hold on a second. But I would like a gift certificate to the spa. No?
Well, I'm not saying that it has no value, but you can do it and then feel pumped up about yourself, like you did that, but then, for instance, like it's you don't. It's only a part of it.
There has to be more than that. There should be more than that. Right. Well, hold on. Writing that down too. This goes along with the super duper thing. Susanna, you know what? You ought to write a book. I swear to God, that would be something that would be. I think people would. Love.
Well, funny you mentioned that, Brian. Funny you mentioned that. I'm just going to do a little blurb, and then we have to talk about everyone else that is going to be with us at the summit Friday and Saturday. But first, back to me.
For sure.
So I started writing a memoir, you guys. Called A is for Arizona. And I've told you this. I started writing it probably 9 years ago. And it started off sort of as a cathartic, therapeutic process for me to come to terms with the fact that I am raising a differently wired child. And so I started writing this memoir. I've been writing it pretty consistently for the last 7-8 years. A is for Arizona, right? Taking her from all of these diagnoses that happen to start with the letter A and realizing, no, actually A is for Arizona, not for all of these. She is not her label. She is not her, all of these other things. She is exactly who she's meant to be in this life right now, coming to me as a perfect child. And so I wanted to honor that in my story of how I came to that revelation of like, oh, she's okay. Everything's okay because I believe that there's nothing broken, right? There's nothing wrong. So therefore nothing needs to be fixed. And so anyway, so I started writing this memoir and I was so into it. And then I just realized, like, over time and certainly in more recent years, since Arizona is now 15 and vocal about particular opinion, she's like, Mommy, I just don't know if I feel so comfortable about so many details around me. in my life. And I
Mm-hmm.
started thinking about that. Not that she necessarily dictates my life, but I was thinking about that, like, And when I was going back to read a lot of what I had written already, I realized, some of this is really private, and some of
Mm-hmm.
it is for me to write and just for me to release and to get out. And so that was enough. And so I decided then to sort of, this online class that I created, Life Management, I had like my little help corner, top tip corner, sort of weave throughout my memoir a little bit, but I really expanded upon that to create the curriculum for my class. And then more recently, within the last 6 months to a year, I've decided to weave through my memoir mixed with my sort of practical class goodies. So it's now going to be a mix of like anecdotal yummies with self-help.
And because you're humble, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's for a good cause. I'm going to let people know that which you probably are not going to say, which is in addition to her being amazing and her work being of tremendous value, for those of you that register for the event, there are discounted offers that you will receive, as well as gifts with regard to the value that Susanna has to give. So it's something that's worth taking advantage of. Again, like I said, when I wrote down what I wrote, I wasn't writing that down for show. I overlooked that and like, wait a minute, I need to pay attention to that. So I figure if I need that, I know that other people do as well.
Yeah. But finish the story about the book.
So well, I'm in the process now of connecting the two, and I have an amazing editor that I found through you, Brian, and we're just, I don't know. I just feel like this is something that I've been waiting to give birth to for so long. I don't even know what's going to happen once it's released to the world. I've been very stuck in the process of writing it because it is such an emotional write. I will literally start reading passages from what I wrote 6 years ago and just be bawling for 2 hours because, it just, there were some hard times in there, and there still are. Yesterday was a hard day. Arizona was in tears in the afternoon. It was a rough day. So anyway, I just want to be of, even a tiny little increment, little crumb of help to anyone else out there who's finding themselves in a struggle and feeling stuck and not knowing where to go next or what to do next. And sometimes that's okay. And sometimes we can provide little nuggets of information and help along the way.
Yeah, Shawn, I'm pushing this up from Shawn Hall, our producer, who's commenting here as well. Hearing the story from somebody who's been in the trenches is so powerful. And, I think the one thing about sharing yourself and sharing your story, whether you're doing it on social media or you're doing it in the form of a podcast or a book, we don't even know the impact that we have on people. We have no idea. And I think if you designed your communication to have an impact, you probably will have less of an impact than if you're just sharing your story. And so, Susanna, as we've come to know you over the last year and the work that you do for folks, and you lead an in-person support group for We Are Brave Together, and of the many, many, many things that you do. You're a speaker on podcasts and everything. Every time you contribute, while you go, oh, I'm a little teeny piece of it, but we know that those little kernels can actually completely change the world. It's feels like it's a drop in the ocean, but a tiny pebble in the ocean is still going to have ripple effects that extend for a long period of time. So, we're grateful to be in partnership with you and everything that you do. We're supportive of the work you do. We're grateful to have you as a partner in the work that we're doing here. You're like our PR person. You're out. I know you had a podcast just recently where you had a support conversation where Just Two Dads was the ongoing conversation. So we're grateful for our relationship with you and that we're doing the summit together this weekend. And we could talk about some of the folks that are going to be speaking of that. But, I just wanted to just take a moment just to thank you for for everything that you've done to contribute to the work that we're doing. And our web gets woven, and strengthened by these relationships. And you definitely are one of those, those core strings for us. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and we want to continue to be co-creating with you for a long time. So
most definitely, most definitely.
So to that point, like we've got, and I know you've got like of the people that you've introduced us to, people who've been guests on our podcast, a few of which are going to be speaking this week.
Excuse me.
We talk about a few of those. We talk about a few of those folks, like Georgiana, Junko Kelman. We love Georgiana. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Junko Kelman. Yeah.
Junko
So
Kelman.
she, so Georgiana, as we all know, she's so cute. First of all, she's a special education attorney, but she is just like fierce warrior. Just three sons, the oldest of whom has an IEP and some disabilities. But she just posted the other day that she's back in person for IEP meetings. She's like, "Watch out, world!"
Yeah,
she's a fireball.
She is a fireball. So. I mean, if anyone, needs to fight for rights, unfortunately we do. Unfortunately, we have to be fiercest advocates for our child. But it's just so helpful to have somebody in your corner who has walking the walk also as a parent of a child with special needs. I think Brandon is now in high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
And oh no, he just graduated.
He just graduated high school. He's in high school. He graduated this past June.
Yeah.
That's right.
What a joyful day. Anyway, so Georgiana just, she paves the way. She's like, let me take care of this for you.
And not only does she do one-on-ones, is she somebody that you could call up and go, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do," and she can, will do one-on-ones, but she's out there advocating for, a lot of things. I know one of the things she's been talking about is everybody's favorite subject these days, mask mandates and, vaccinations and those types of things. But what it means from a legal perspective, like legally what can be done, what can you do to protect your child? If your child is immunocompromised, how do you advocate for that child? If your child can't wear a mask for sensory reasons or whatever, what can you do to protect your child? All of those kinds of things, which people can opine on and take a stance, just bow out of like don't infringe on my freedoms. But when you look at what legally can be done at the school, at the school district level, at the state level, at the city level, you want to have somebody who's passionate. And I think Georgiana is definitely one of those people who is. I don't think that she's not passionate about a lot of things. I think she's incredibly passionate. And I'm not going to say it's from her Cuban, background, but she's definitely on fire all the time. And she's somebody you want to have in your court.
Yes,
most definitely. Yeah. And, we met because we happen to know a lot of the same people. I believe she still does, but at least at one time sat on the board of Autism Speaks. And she's created Shane's Inspiration, where they build playgrounds for inclusion. And she's just a wealth of information. And so the thing that's also cool about what we're going to do on Saturday of the event is we're going to have a panel of business owners, and that includes those of us who have taken the situation that we've been placed in with regard to our child or loved one's diagnosis and turned the need that the special needs community has into a business of some kind. And somebody might be out there sitting around trying to figure out, how do I even do something like that? And so we're just trying to inspire people as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Because it's really like, how can I take what I'm doing that I'm very passionate about and go out there and change the world? And then there are other people like, man, I could actually, because people say, and I'm sure Susanna, you have this too. People like, you should you should actually charge for your services because you're so, there's such a strong need for what you're doing, right? Would you say?
Yes. Yeah. And that's how it happened,
Yeah, for sure, which is awesome. So we're excited to hear from you, from Georgiana. God, there's Sandy, as you mentioned, Sandy Santero, who is an IEP advocate, an IEP coach. She posts a lot of stuff on social media she has a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram, which is amazing. just about what it means to be an IEP advocate and why it's okay to ask for one, to recognize that you need one, and to interview for them and have very strong IEP advocate in the room with you when you're talking about, because again, a lot of parents don't even know what services and accommodations are available to them. And I don't want to say this, disparagingly about the government, but any type of government program is available. Most of the time, it's always available, but they don't outwardly tell you about it. There's no like advertisement for it. So you're like, I didn't even know that was even possible for me, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was available. So somebody like a Sandy Santero, thank you for putting that up. SandySantero.com is a great resource.
Yeah.
And what happened? Go ahead, Susanna.
I was going to say, and she's also bilingual, which is huge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. For the Spanish speaking community. It's amazing resource.
And the way that she works, what happens is, there's a cultural response to certain things. Some communities of color, and Sandy has said this, Georgiana will probably say the same thing as well. So this is what I've been told, that in the Latino community as well, you have people that have degrees and things like that. And so whether it's a doctor, principal, whoever, they said you should do something. So therefore the response is, well, that's what they said, I should go do that. And when you're new to an IEP and you show up at the school and you're talking about your kid's education and they've got the IEP laid out, when they go over everything, especially if it's one of your first ones, the closest most people probably get to verbally disagreeing with anything that's laid out for the plan is just the gut feeling that they have, and they don't say anything. And then when it's done, it's presented to you and like, here's where you sign, here. And they may or may not tell you. Now, for my wife and I, our experience in the first 1 or 2 IEPs, we went together. Then we were kind of tag team. Me having a more flexible schedule, I would usually go, and we would divide and conquer by me going, bringing it home, looking it over together. And do we agree with that? Then we sign it. But we dealt with a school district that told us when they presented it to us, here's where you sign, you're free to take it home and, let us know. And what people don't realize is you don't have to sign it then and there. And then after you do sign it, you can even have it amended. And where Sandy comes in is that she works with you to coach you through the process where she may sit there during the IEP or she may prepare you for it. And it's the step you take before you then need to take legal action. So we're covering both grounds, both bases at this event where you have someone that will coach you and prep you for the IEP and either sit there with you in the IEP if need be. And then if you have to take it a step further and, get messy, for lack of a better term, and you have an attorney, that's where you'll bring Georgiana in. And the fact that we have both of those resources is, I'm just really excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And a great resource. People don't even know the stuff is available. So those are going to be amazing. Who else we have? Juliana Featherman. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Susanna.
So on Friday, we have, let's see. So Friday we have Dr. Tasnova, right?
Yes.
Kat Scott and Mark Altieri.
Yep.
We have Marissa and Chris. We have Alex, Sandy, Juliana Featherman, Making Authentic Friendships. So I love her story so much. She is a young woman who, has a brother with special needs. And so she was inspired by him to create this network, sort of this app. And it's also online too, where people can connect with others around the nation, around the globe, to make authentic friendships. So that's actually the name of the app. And I'm such a fan of this. And I know it's something that I was going to test out for Arizona, who's 15, and I think could now sort of benefit from meeting other like-minded individuals who might be interested in some of the same things that she's interested in. And I know she was a guest also on your podcast as well, right?
She was.
Yes.
I mean, she's a young woman who decided I want to help my brother make real friendships, but then realize how many people needed that. And, with social media, it's a one-to-many relationship, right? It's one-to-many. A lot of people have, I have, 3,000 Facebook friends. But the reality is, how many of those 3,000 people are actually friends. So this kind of narrows it down to common likes, geography, ages, experiences, diagnoses, And so you can really develop a one-to-one relationship where there's relatability, which is amazing. And by the way, you introduced her to us, so thank you for that. That was great.
I found her on Instagram, and I was actually talking to another special needs mom about just how our kids, as they get older, like need like buddies, like sort of like even if it's like a mentor or like sort of like the big brother big sister thing, even if it's that. But then we found making authentic friendships, and I was like, what about peer to peer? I mean, our kids need that socialization.
Incredible, absolutely. And she's in her early 20s still, and a businesswoman. I mean, very clear. Yes. Like, this is a for-profit venture. We're doing something good, but we're not going to be soft pedal this. It's a for-profit venture to help people get connected on a one-on-one. The need is there, and people are willing to pay for it. So it's an amazing thing. Yes. So thank you for that too. That's a great one, making authentic friendships. And then talk about the two. We have two. I want to call them two couples. They're not couples, but the two where there's two speakers. So Kathy Gott and Mark Altieri have developed both of the groups. The I don't know what we call them. And doesn't matter. Both of them have developed online networks that are going to be great resources for people to get to understand. So Kathy Gott and Mark Altieri have developed a self-determination program. So a lot of people who qualify for government services, if for one reason, maybe there's only one service provider, and if you don't mix with the service provider, you're not going to get a lot of value out of that. So what this allows families to do is to go outside of the provided network and find a service provider that they may have a better connection with, and help that self-determination. So am I right when I say that, Shawn? Geez, I just realized that I'm mixing up the two. Am I mixing up the two? No,
you're correct.
Thank you. Okay, good. I was thinking, wait a minute, did I say that right? Yes, that's right. So the idea of determining your own program, self-determination as you're a young adult and you're developing your own program. Yeah, thank you. I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds so much like what Marissa and Chris are doing. They're doing something completely different, but it's also related, because both of these networks have a specific need. Kathy and Mark, in their self-determination program, are providing access to providers who fall a little outside of the regional center, yet still have them paid for.
And it's limited to California too, I believe. I'm sorry.
At the moment, it's limited to California.
At the moment, yes.
And yes. That's the big distinction. What Marissa and Chris are doing are trying to create a network for across the country for service providers to be able to put something up about their services, their offerings, and make it a broader reach. It doesn't have to be paid for by the regional center. It's just a network of service providers, resources. Yeah, even in my own, I keep mixing the two up because they're both such great needed resources. And I'm just jabbering on. Anyways, those are great. We're going to hear about those programs. Both of them, by the way, have not fully launched. Both of those networks, the Self-Determination Network is about to launch fully, and the second is going to be launching in October.
Yeah.
People are going to get a preview as to what's coming, and it's going to be a great resource for them to say, oh my gosh. So when somebody says, where do I go? I've just been diagnosed. Where do I go to? This is a place that they're going to be able to go to and find access to those resources. So
yes, most definitely.
About those.
And then we were talking earlier about Dr. Tasnuva Tuna. Her story is equally amazing. She immigrated from Bangladesh to Canada, and her background is in pharmaceuticals. And her when her child was diagnosed with autism, she needed to find a way to find solutions as it relates to nutrition and diet and things of that sort. But when you say that she focuses on those areas and dealing with sensitivities to foods and things of that sort, that's just a portion of it. She's been able to help clients get from point A to point B. The best example of that is her own son, where and I'm not giving claims of miracles or anything like that, but she's been able to treat him where she's had changes to his diet that are significant, and again, proven from somebody that has training in that area, where his speech, the limitations that he had prior, have been removed, and he continues to thrive. So I'm just always excited to hear what she has to offer, because when you hear her story about where she came from, both physically, spiritually, and emotionally, just tremendous value.
We're going to be super inspired. I mean, right? I can't wait. I'm going to have my popcorn ready. Really,
it's really is amazing. I mean, it's inspirational. It's a resource. It's hands-on. And so, if you're not catching us live in our chat, if you're catching us on YouTube, all of the links to these service providers are going to be listed here in the comments. So, SandySantero.com, the California Self-Determination Network. It's the, we'll put it up here on the screen, the CASDPnetwork.org. Dr. Tasnova Tuna is the Neurodiverse Nerd. We're putting these up on the screen now, but they're in our comment section as well. So if you find us on the podcast, jump into our YouTube channel at We Are Just Two Dads, and you can see some of the links to some of these folks. But come on Friday. It's free. It's a free event. That's the best part about it. It's on Zoom. So you register through Eventbrite, and then you'll get the link to the Zoom. We're gonna put the link up here as well. There's an Eventbrite link. We have a bit.ly link that we've put here as well to make it short. But go to Eventbrite, search out Someday is Today Summit. Someday, by the way, is spelled S-U-M, because there's no such thing as someday, right? Someday's made up. Even the word tomorrow is made up, right? Because it's not guaranteed.
That's right.
Someday is Today Summit. And register. It's free. If you registered for the event, you're going to get access to the resources at either a discounted rate or something special, a gift from one of the speakers. So we want you to register, share it with your friends and family. Again, register. You don't have to be here for the entire time. It's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time, Friday and Saturday, September 17th and 18th. But if you miss it, if you register for the event and you have to miss any of the sessions, you'll have access to recordings of those sessions exclusively for a period of time, and then we'll make it available to the public after the fact. But there's definitely an advantage for registering early. Come to the event. Again, if you can sit, you're going to be inspired. We're giving you just a little preview. You're getting a chance to see Susanna. Imagine how amazing that conversation is going to go, because you're going to get 20 minutes of bam, Susanna.
Maybe 19 and a half.
19 and a half.
And then when you register, the agenda is there as well. So you can pick and choose the topics and speakers that resonate with you most, that you want to see first and foremost, and then you can always come back to it. But as we get ready to wrap up here, I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to ask you as a listener that which I usually ask a guest, which is to think of one thought, belief, philosophy, or way of thinking that you held dear for your entire life that you no longer believe to be true. And the reason for that question is because our ability to make the world a better place is tied to our ability to adapt and change. And very often we've always done it that way. I don't do that. So just think about something like that. Maybe jot it down and see how that might serve you.
I love that. Shawn, that's why I hate that question, because it makes you dig deep and
makes us work.
I like to stay on the surface of a lot of things. I'm kidding. It's actually a very powerful question.
That's why it's powerful.
It's powerful if you will take the time to do it. Some of us don't want to. Anyways, I like it. I used to hate it, honestly. Now it's a joke between Shawn and I, because he asks it all the time, and I can feel my eyes rolling in my head as he asked the question. I'm like, what are you doing? I love that question now.
Yeah, Brian makes me feel like the Black Freud.
That's funny. Hey, so first of all, Susanna, thank you as always for being a partner with us. Not just today, and not just this week, but always. It's so amazing for us to be able to have a warrior like you in partnership in everything that we're doing. We love you and the work that we're doing. Arizona is an amazing child, and it's so funny. I love it. Some of the things that she says are just so deeply profound, and not that that's a surprise. They're just deeply profound for a child of any age. And every time I hear her say something that I think, like, she has a special filter by which she sees the world, and all of our kids do, right? All of our kiddos,
yes,
they all have a special filter. Absolutely, because they're looking at it from a perspective that we don't recognize, because it's not our filter. But once they bring in, it's like just having another facet of the world. It's just turned. And so I'm always inspired by by Arizona. And I love your, I don't want to say your imitation of her, but I love how you,
Yes.
I gotta tell you guys something really quick as we close out. I know we're at our time, but and I'm gonna be risky.
what, we're going to go over time? That's so weird.
And this is risky because if you're not careful, if you look at this with sight and not vision, you'll think that I am making a political statement. So I'm asking you to use your eyes and ears and check vision. So some of you are aware that I've shared that Elijah asked my wife for a suit. He finally got the suit and he wanted to wear it everywhere he went, even to the park. And it's a black suit. So he looks like he works for Men in Black, right? Turns out he was inspired to get the suit because pre-pandemic, all my appointments were like in a certain tie and going to the office. He wanted to physically go to the office. Finally got him to not wear the suit at school. We told him it's for special occasions only. So Tuesday, leading up to Tuesday, he had been saying, it's election day, Daddy. It's election day. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know. I don't know if they're talking about it in school or what. But we haven't talked with him about our views, the ones that we hold, the ones that we disagree upon, anything like that. Tuesday morning, I'm waking him up and he wakes up all groggy, stuff in his eyes, and he's like, time to get up, Daddy. It's election day. And my wife tells me that the night before he told her that he needs to wear his suit because he's going to vote and go to the office. So as I go to pick him up from school, we're walking all on the sidewalk, and I just happen to say, Elijah, do you know what it is that we're voting for? And I don't mean what I am voting for because I haven't told him we haven't expressed it. And he says, vote no on the Republican recall of Governor Gavin Newsom. And I'm like, trying to take that all in. I'm like, if I didn't take, now he could probably have simply heard a commercial someplace that said that, and that's it. But he hears commercials for all kind of things. I don't know why that would resonate. I don't know why he would sit up and just start reading Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. I don't know why he would just start singing the national anthem. So therefore, anybody that thinks that that's an anti-red statement or anything, again, use your vision and not your sight. And I'm asking questions. I'm not telling you, this is why my son said it. What I'm doing is I'm asking the question because to your point earlier about Arizona, it's like, they're telling us something. They always are. We have to listen. And I get in my own way where I'm like, okay, what? I have to read all these street signs because he wants me to sing the name of the street signs as I drive by them. And I'm like, oh. But then I catch myself, and that's when my wife has to rein me in and tell me, like, you need to be more patient. And I just like, what is he trying to say? Why? So we need to make sure that we ask those questions of our children.
Always beautiful and profound, John Francis.
Beautiful, right?
I love that, man. That's what I love about you. And as we wrap up, it's a perfect segue because I always say, now almost more than ever, empathy and love is so needed. So if you see a situation and you look at it through the lens of empathy, the world will look much different. And if you see somebody who's struggling and you give them some sort of expression of love, it's going to make the world a better place. And right now, and we've talked about this after the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the world has not fully recovered from that incident. And we're divided about things that we used to just openly debate and agree to disagree on. And now it's created such divisiveness that really now more than ever, empathy and love is the thing that's required. And so wherever you can, give yourself a moment to pause and express empathy and love for those around you. I know I love you, Shawn, for your partnership and all this. Susanna, I love you so dearly for all of the work that you do and the work that we're continuing to create and going to create now in the future. And for everybody who's listening, we love you. We love your participation. We love that you're sharing, and just know that, you're struggling. We know we've been there before as well. And we love you, and you are heard. And I don't want to take it away from you, Shawn, because that's how you usually end this show. So empathy and love is my how I always end the show. And Shawn, you want to sign us off?
Just again, remember that, again, there's no such thing as special needs. Everybody needs the same thing. We all need to be seen. We need to be heard. We need to know that we matter, and we need to be acknowledged. Those of us that have a diagnosis or a catastrophic injury that put us in the special needs category, or those of us that are caring for somebody in that category, simply need more of those same things and accommodations. And in closing, I want to, again, thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you both, Brian and Susanna. And I want to thank the women in my life without whom I couldn't attempt to be who I strive every day to be. And that would be my mom, Jan, and my amazing wife, Laura. If you're watching us, if you're listening to us, we love you.
And we can't end without just two dads and a mom. Susanna, will you want to have something to say as we sign off?
I mean, I'm beyond blessed. And I'm just in this moment with you both. So peace and love and blessing.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again soon on Just Two Dads.
And join us Friday and Saturday.
This weekend. Yeah.